After years of chaos, addiction, toxic relationships, violence, and self-destruction, Euphoria Season 3 ends with the darkest and most tragic moment in the series. Bennett dies. The finale, titled In God We Trust, delivers a brutal conclusion to Rue's story while also bringing closure to several of the season's biggest conflicts. Rather than offering redemption in the traditional sense, creator Sam Levinson chooses an ending centered on consequences, faith, grief, and the devastating reality of addiction. The finale begins with Rue escaping Laurie's ranch after the failed robbery from the previous episode. Wayne discovers her inside the tunnels, leading to a violent chase. Rue stabs him in the leg and narrowly escapes through the desert. Even after she is captured by one of Laurie's cowboys, G arrives and saves her, allowing her to flee with the stolen goods. For a brief moment, it looks like Rue has survived yet another impossible situation. At the same time, the power struggle between Alamo and Laurie reaches its climax. Throughout the season, the two drug empires have been moving toward an inevitable collision, and Rue's involvement with the DEA accelerates the conflict. Laurie believes she still controls the situation, but Alamo has been several steps ahead. The DEA eventually closes in on Laurie's operation during a massive raid. Helicopters surround the ranch while agents move in from every direction. Realizing there is no escape, Laurie decides not to surrender. Instead, she takes her own life before authorities can arrest her. Her death marks the collapse of one of the show's most terrifying villains. However, the raid reveals another twist. The drugs the DEA expected to recover are no longer there. Alamo secretly manipulated the operation and switched the transport vehicles, allowing him to seize Laurie's product while eliminating his biggest rival. By the end of the raid, Laurie is dead, her organization is destroyed, and Alamo has become the dominant force in the criminal world. But the most important storyline remains Rue. After returning from the desert, Rue spends time with Ali. The season repeatedly explored Rue's growing interest in religion and spirituality, raising questions about whether she could finally escape the cycle of addiction. For a while, it seems possible. She has survived countless dangers and appears closer to recovery than she has been in years. That hope disappears when Alamo gives her Percocet. The pills seem harmless at first. Rue even recognizes how dangerous it is for her to take them, yet she still gives in. Unknown to her, the pills contain fentanyl. Alamo knows exactly what he is doing. While he acts supportive and congratulates Rue for helping him, he is actually setting her up. The gesture is revenge disguised as kindness. The episode becomes increasingly dreamlike after Rue takes the drugs. She hears that Fez has escaped prison and begins searching for him. She travels through familiar places from her past, revisiting memories and locations connected to her childhood. The imagery feels strange and disconnected from reality, creating the sense that something is already terribly wrong. The most emotional moment comes when Rue returns to her old house. She sees her mother waiting inside and reaches toward her. For a brief second, it appears as if Rue is finally finding peace after everything she has endured. Then the truth is revealed. Rue never made it home. She overdosed on the couch inside Ali's apartment. Ali discovers her body after waking up. One of the most heartbreaking scenes of the finale shows him realizing she is gone. There is no dramatic rescue attempt and no miracle recovery. Rue simply dies alone, becoming another victim of fentanyl addiction. The reveal also confirms a theory many viewers had discussed for years. Since the beginning of the series, Rue narrated events with an unusual amount of awareness and reflection. Season 3 leans heavily into religious symbolism and the possibility that Rue's story was always moving toward death. While she was not secretly dead throughout the entire series, the finale presents her final journey as something between memory, hallucination, and spiritual transition. Ali later tests the pills and discovers they contain fentanyl. The result confirms that Alamo intentionally poisoned Rue. In many ways, Rue survives every external threat throughout the season, only to be killed by the addiction she spent years trying to escape. The tragedy hits even harder because Rue had finally begun seeking meaning beyond drugs. Her conversations with Ali about faith suggested she wanted a different life. She was not at her lowest point when she died. She was actually trying to change. That choice is what makes the ending so devastating. After Rue's death, Ali becomes the emotional center of the final act. Losing Rue destroys him. He relapses and abandons the hopeful approach he once had toward addiction recovery. Instead, he becomes consumed by anger and grief. Eventually, Ali tracks down Alamo. The finale ends their conflict with a violent confrontation. Ali kills Alamo, avenging Rue's death and ending the criminal empire responsible for so much suffering. Yet the victory feels empty. Rue is still gone, and nothing can undo what happened. The remaining characters receive quieter conclusions. Jules channels her grief into art, painting Rue from memory. Rather than focusing on their failed relationship, the scene emphasizes remembrance and loss. Jules is left carrying the emotional weight of someone she loved but could never fully save. Cassie and Maddie surprisingly find themselves rebuilding their friendship after Nate's death. With Nate gone, the rivalry that consumed them loses its power. Both women are still trapped in unhealthy circumstances, particularly through their connections to Alamo's organization, but they begin moving forward together. Lexi experiences perhaps the most philosophical ending. After reading Rue's Bible, she starts viewing life differently. She reflects on guilt, responsibility, and acceptance, concluding that some tragedies cannot be controlled. Her conversations suggest one of the finale's central themes. People cannot change the past, but they still have to continue living. The ending has divided viewers because it refuses to offer easy hope. Some expected Rue to achieve long-term sobriety and finally escape the darkness that followed her throughout the series. Instead, the show argues that addiction does not always end with recovery. Sometimes it ends in tragedy. According to Sam Levinson, Rue's death was intended to be the most honest ending possible. The series has always explored addiction without romanticizing it, and fentanyl has become one of the deadliest realities facing drug users. By killing Rue, the finale forces viewers to confront the consequences that had haunted her since the very first episode. At the same time, the ending is not entirely hopeless. Rue spends her final moments searching for love, family, forgiveness, and connection. The imagery surrounding her death suggests peace rather than punishment. While her life ends tragically, the finale implies she finally escapes the pain she carried for so long. Whether viewers love or hate the ending, one thing is certain: Euphoria concludes with its most heartbreaking chapter. Rue Bennett survives violence, crime, betrayal, and countless overdoses, but she cannot escape addiction forever. Her death becomes the final warning at the center of the series, a reminder that recovery is never guaranteed, and that every relapse carries consequences that can be permanent. For a show built around excess, chaos, and self-destruction, the ending strips everything down to a simple truth. Rue spent years searching for something to believe in. In the end, she found peace, but only after losing the battle she had been fighting from the very beginning.